All right. We're going to get things ready here and start soon. Get the link, post it to social media, and then we will get going. So if you're here already, well, hang around for a second. I got to get everything together for you. Say that. Get the shareable link. Post it on Twitter. Okay. There's that. Copy that. All right. So, good morning, Ryan. I'm just getting my links together and sent off. Very shortly, we'll be starting. Let the world know what's going on here. Send that in Twitter. And send it in Facebook. And there's that. Okay. Should all be up and going. Great. Great. Okay, good morning, Brian. So, welcome to Board Games with Scott Live. It's been a little while. Actually, we'll kick off the show right with my... Actually, I better close the door and let all the ghosts in here. You can't let the ghosts in here because they'll get on camera and do all sorts of craziness. So there, we'll have a better there. I keep the ghosts out. Ooh, I'll be the only ghost around here. Anyway, well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Board Games with Scott Live. And so what I'm going to do today is play a little bit of Sleeping Gods with you. Now, this show is a show I set up really to encourage me to continue to explore board games, even though I couldn't do it face-to-face with my students. I have a game lab where normally I would explore these games with students, and I didn't have that opportunity. So I said, well, I want to continue to do this, so I'm using this format to explore these games. It's been a few weeks because I've had this game set up on my table for a little while, and I'm really struggling with it. I don't know what to think about it, to be honest. I want to like it. I like some of the other games, Near and Far. I like quite a lot. I like the concept of building things up. But boy, this is a cruel game. It's mean, and so I find that I can't play it very long. I'll play a few turns of it, and then I'll just be like, I can't take it anymore, and walk away. And then I'll come back another day and play another turn or two, and then walk away. Yeah, there's in the chat with Dusk Sheiks talked about the ghosts are known to cheat. Yes, in fact, that's a good excuse. It's like, look, a ghost. So it works really well. Anyway, welcome to How to Cheat at Board Games with Scott. Blame it on the ghosts. What we're going to do is I'm going to continue my game a little bit. Now, I have to say that spoilers, this is an adventure-style game. So what you're doing in this game is you have this crew of ne'er-do-wells who you're traveling around having adventures, and then it has a sort of a choose-your-own-adventure style book. So this book is full of paragraphs that when you go to places, you have those adventures. There's a lot of cool things it does. It's very striking to look at. What they've got is this map that I'm actually supposed to have open this way, but because of space, I figured, well, I don't really need the map sitting there taking up a third of my table the entire time. So I'll bring the map into play when it's important. So the way this book works, it's pretty neat. There's this book of maps. And the idea is that you're sailing around, and when you sail off of the side, if there's a number there, then you go to that page to see where you're sailing. Now, because you know something about the world, you're also given a paper map. The idea is that you use one sheet for a game. It's kind of a legacy game in that you track things over a series of sessions, but it's a legacy game that's really designed to not play forever and ever, but it's a much shorter legacy game. So you play on a sheet. It shows you how to record at the end of your journey if you don't have the luxury of just having it and leaving it sitting on a table, so that the next game you can continue from where you left off. There's this map, and so the map is showing you all of the pages of the book. So I can look on this map, like right now, I'll bring you up to speed. So I know I have a quest right now where I need to go to Luca City. So this quest tells me I want to find Luca City. Well, I can look on the big map and I can see where Luca is on the map. It's way over here and I'm here. So that tells me I kind of want to move this way. It gives me some indication of where to go. I don't know the details of what I'm going to see when I get to those locations, but I can see where there are ports, which is important, and then I can see basic city names. The game suggests that you take notes. Now, I should have taken better notes. That's one of the problems I have right now. I have this quest, which says, I freed a man named Ubzan, and he promises to lead us to a treasure hidden to the temple to the south. Now, the problem I have, I didn't write down where I got this card. So I have no idea what south means. So I got this guy named Ubzan on my boat who says, hey, I'll take you to a treasure cave to the south. And I'm like, where do we start? So I guess maybe someday I'll just stumble across this if I go in the south direction. So that's my first piece of advice. Take notes as you're playing where you find things. So yeah, that's, so what I'm doing is at the beginning, I just kind of wandered around and got really beat up. And I'm still pretty beat up, and I'll explain how I know that in a minute. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pick one quest, and we're going to try to accomplish the quest, and we'll see if I can do it. I think that works better for how to take this game, is you pick something, work towards that thing, and see if you can pull it off. Unlike video games, though, I don't feel I've got... Actually, that's not true. I was going to say I don't feel I have a good warning of how hard a fight is, but that's not true. There actually is an indicator in the game as to the fight difficulty before you get into it. So you do have some indication if you're getting ready to get clobbered. So the idea is that you travel around the map, and as you go to these spaces on the map, then there are numbered spaces, and when you go to a numbered space, you then look that up in the book and do a bit of a choose your own adventure. Now, all of these adventures that I've had have led to these cards. Now, some of these cards are not quests, but they're rather the effects of my choices. So I've got keywords of maneuver, unleash, foam, and pink. And what this means is there will be times in the book where it will say, if you have keyword unleashed, then do this. So that is something that you, that's how the game is tracking state. To let you know if it were a video game, it would just track these as variables. That's how this game is tracking state, is that it's giving you these keywords. So you've got keywords cards that don't have a little indicator over here, and that's just telling you all that matters is the word. So you're going to just keep an eye on any paragraph that says, if you have the word blah, go to this page. It's going to make something different for you. And then some of them have quest icons on the side, which tells you this is an active quest that you can pursue. So at this point, I have 3 quests I can pursue. As far as where I am in the game and where we're sitting, so the way the game flow works is first you do something on your ship, which is over here, which we'll talk about in a minute when I do it. Second, you draw an event card. And third, you get to do 2 actions. Now, the actions is going to be how you sail around or have your adventures. The event cards are cards that hate you. The ship is how you build up some resources. So the event card deck is set up at the start of the game with 6 easy, 6 medium, and 6 hard events. Just to give you an idea of where I am in the game, I've completed the 6 easy events, and I have 2 medium events left. So I'm about halfway through the deck the first time. Apparently, you build this deck of easy, medium, hard, you play through the deck, something happens. I don't know what, I haven't gotten there yet. You then rebuild a new deck of 6 easy, medium, and hard. You play through those, something happens, you rebuild the deck one more time, you play through that, and that is a full game of Sleeping Gods. So it's going to be a total of 18 turns times 3. So 30, 3 times 8 is 24. So some turns, and then you're done. So that is a full game. Of course, you're not going to play that in one session, but every round is going to be getting 1 card out of that deck. So is it Gloomhaven's little cousin? I think it's a very different beast than Gloomhaven because it's not tactical. It's not a tactical miniatures game. So things happen at a much broader scope. Combat is interesting. And I've been trying to avoid it because it's also very deadly. This is my crew. So my crew currently, every crew member has different things they can do, as shown by the icons. Let me find a crew member that's not covered with tokens about how badly they're beat up. So this is a crew member. And so what is important on the crew member are the icons on the side that tells you the sort of things they're good at. So there's 5 icons, and the game will say, test your whatever, test your strength, and then you will decide who you're going to send to that. So they've got icons. They'll have special abilities they can use. So I'll talk in a minute about how I trigger those abilities. They have their combat strength, which is down here in this corner, and their life points. And then they have the ability to have two extra abilities you can add to them. So I've done that with this person. I've given her these 2 abilities. So those abilities also have icons. It's good to specialize. So she's really good at tools. So she's like Kaylee on Firefly. So if I have a tool-based challenge, I can say, okay, you're going to do that. You're going to do that crafty challenge. They also give you other abilities too. So these cards are really good to help build up your crew's strength. I found early in the game I went out too early and didn't have many of these cards, and I really suffered for it, and I'm still dealing with that. Now, the other things that have appeared on these cards, there's little heart markers, which means they've taken damage. So at this point, I'm not very damaged because I learned early on combat is awful and hates you and will hurt you a lot. So I'm kind of trying to avoid combat whenever I can. The gold markers are fatigue. So what that means is if you have a challenge in the game, you choose the crew members you want to send against that challenge and you fatigue them. Now, the first time you fatigue them, it doesn't affect them, but they get a marker. The second time you fatigue them, you flip this over, and now it's bad. It makes them weaker in combat. So you want to be careful not to fatigue everyone. Right now, almost every crew member has 1 fatigue, but that's okay. I have a way to deal with that, and I'm just getting ready to launch on that right now. Also, I've gained, like 3 of my crew members have low morale because of poor choices I've made throughout the game. Actually, not poor choices, and I guess we'll get at why I'm struggling with this game. It's not poor choices that cause those morale losses. It's poor dice rolls, or actually card draws in this case. So rather than have you roll a die, every one of these cards, these little cards here that you have in the game, has a number on the top corner. And so whenever you are doing a challenge, it will say, do a cunning level 6 challenge. Now, that means I pick any of my people I want to send into the challenge who may have the cunning ability. And every cunning icon they have makes them better. And that's why it's good to specialize in cunning, because you want to only spend 1 fatigue. Like this person, if I do a cunning challenge, I have 3 cunning on him now. So for 1 fatigue, I get a base of 3. You're then going to flip a card. Now, the top number of the cards vary from 1 to 6. Apparently, there are even numbers of 2, 3, 4, and 5. There's half as many 6s and half as many 1s. You're then going to add the number of icons that you spent to the number that you drew on the card, and if you hit the challenge point, you succeed. You spent the fatigue whether you succeed or fail. It's cruel, because I'm finding that I'll spend all these resources and all this stuff to try and succeed at something, and then I draw and get a 2. And I feel like, well, crap. You know, and it's that is what is getting in my craw in this game, because you build up and you try to do all this stuff, and then you draw bad, and there's no way to deal with that. Now, there are some ways to deal with that, I should say. Like I have the example here. I can redraw 1 time. That'll help me. So that's Dusk has said he'd rather play a game about, I forgot the name, but collect sets with bidding with cubes. Yeah, I forget that game as well. It's gone out of my mind. I don't remember. So that little bit frustrates me, as this, I feel like I put all this effort into it, and then just a bad die roll ruins me. And that is old school role-playing game design. That's what that smacks of. So in old school tabletop role-playing games, the games were based on, you make all these plans, you make 1 die roll, you succeed or fail based on that die roll. And people react to that over time, and there's been a lot of developments in tabletop role-playing games to avoid that kind of situation, to create where we set stakes, where there's maybes involved, where there's a success, there's various points of success and failure, there's complete failure. So rather than it being this yes, no, it's, you did really well. Well, you know, there's a cost, but you'll succeed, to there is a failure point, but it's pretty far down. And this doesn't have that. This is like, here's the razor's edge, and sometimes it's 1 point between, yeah, you wasted all those resources, and we're going to punch you in the face too, or yay, you succeed, have a lollipop. And so that's that's the thing that gets me, is I feel like I spent all these resources, then I just get punched in the face. You're done. Ways to deal with that as a game designer, you could set something up to where when you fail, you get a when you fail, that you get some kind of a credit that you can use, in like a moxie. It's like every time you fail, you get a moxie token, and then you can add that token into future rolls. Something to where when you fail at something, you still gain. That is the game design mechanism I would put into this game to help alleviate that bad feeling when you fail. Brian has asked a couple questions. How many hours have I put in up to now? I would say I'm at about, well, it was a very slow learn. So about 8 hours so far I've played this to get to this point. But it's going to speed up because I've learned now, I understand the mechanism. So it was very slow at the beginning. And so I would say if each turn you could probably play in about 10 minutes, unless there's a combat, and that'll take longer. Also, a lot of it depends upon what you're doing in the turn. If all you're doing in the turn is moving and getting resources, it'll be fast. It's when you get into the book that you can get into long turns, because that's where you have a lot of narrative. Yeah, so there's a question by King of Crunkmaster. How often do these choices come up? Often. Most of these event cards are make a test. I think pretty much every event card I've hit is make a test on something. So every turn you're having one of these success-fail things. And even spaces on the board have that. So for example, if I want to move into this space, what it shows me there is I need to succeed at a cunning of 5, or someone on the crew loses morale. And that's one of the reasons I have 3 of my crew have weak morales right now. So I would like to find a way to improve that. And I know there is a way to improve that. So I've got my crew. Most of them are beat up, or at least most of them are fatigued. I'm not that wounded because, as I said, I've been avoiding combat after getting really beat up in an early combat and saying, oh, combat is very nasty. I don't want to fight unless I have to. These cards represent other resources that I've collected along the way. So I have some recipes. So with the recipes, what I can do is if I collect like 3 food, I can spend that along with a little blue token, which I haven't talked about yet. And that's going to let me remove 3 fatigue from my crew and 1 low morale. So one way to help with the low morale is to have some soup. Cooking is a big part of the game. Right now, though, I don't have any food. I only have boards. I don't have food because some people came along and I failed my roll and they took my food. And then another group came along and I failed my roll and they poisoned my food. So I don't have any food because I drew badly. Other of these cards are people, and so like this, I have a dog. So the dog, I can get 1 strength or 1 eyeball or 1. I have no idea what that symbol means. I'll have to look that up. So I'll talk about the blue tokens now. The blue tokens are called command tokens, and they're the ways that I tell people to do stuff. That you gather the tokens each round at the start of the turn. When you have a ship action, that's going to be how you get these command tokens, and then you can spend these command tokens. But they also block. So for example, I've on this scout's gear, which I spend 1 of my command tokens to get 2 eyeballs, it's then covered with a token. And until I take an action, there is an action that lets me pick all those tokens up. I can't use those things again. Thomas asks a question about if it's hard to manage the character solo. Whatever. You know, it's if you were playing the game with multiple people, you just split up these characters. So at the heart, it's just, and that's also, I think, a reason why the game is fairly slow for me, because I have having to look at 9 characters, all with different abilities. I feel I'm not using their abilities to the best I could because there are so many of them, with each character having 2 different special abilities that I could be triggering. I don't have a really good overview of what everyone can do and what everyone's good at this point. That'll get better as I play the game, but right now it's just a slow game. So let's get beat, shall we? All right. So right now we're going to start with the ship action. Now, as I mentioned, my current problem is I'm fatigued. I'm tired, and so I need to relieve that. I also have no command tokens, so I also need command tokens because that's a core way you do stuff. Now, my ship's taken a little damage, not too much. Again, I'm trying to avoid combat because it's just, you get nothing, you get beat. So now the bridge will allow me to pick up all my command tokens. Now right now, I only have command tokens on these cards. I don't have any on any of my people, so I don't think I want to pick it up right now. The quarters would let me pick up 2 tokens. That might not be bad, and I'd get 3 tokens. I'd also get a card. The galley is where I am now, so I can't do the galley again. You have to move somewhere else. The deck lets me get resources. That's how I can get food, which might not be bad. And I get 2 command tokens. And the sick bay lets me heal wounds. I don't need to heal wounds. That's okay. So I'm thinking I might want to get some resources because I just have planks and I may be getting hungry. So I'm going to go to the deck. Now the deck, it shows 2 in blue tokens. So that lets me get 2 of these command tokens, and I can use them in a number of ways. Now, the one way I can use it is to play cards onto my people. Right now I have no cards. I've used them all up. There was another question that came in about how, if you can't play this game for 20 hours in a row, what do you do? So the game comes with a record sheet, which now, there's mine. It comes with a sheet that you can use to record your progress between sessions. So you use this to write down what's going on with the ship, the ability cards that you have, you record the state of the game in a row, and then you can put it away and pick it up from next time. So that's how this goes. I'm going and I'm going to try to get resources. Now here's the way that works is there's a little bunch of different resource chips here. I keep my chips in. These are my handy dandy silicone muffin. They're silicone muffin liners. They're what I use to put little organic stuff during games. I recommend them highly because they collapse easily. They stack. You can just stack them all up and carry 20 with you and very small. And they're brightly colored. So there you go. So we reach into our random bin and we have pulled out food and 1 point of damage. Now here's the way this works. I can keep this token and get my steak. I found a steak, but the ship takes a point of damage. If I want to try to get more, I can go back in and dig for more. But if I dig for more, I still have to take all the damage on the tokens that I pulled. So if I pull 3 tokens, you can pull up 3 times. If I pull 3 tokens and they all have damage markers, I take all that damage, but I only get the ability of 1 token. So I said my goal was to get food. I got food. I'm going to just take my meat and run. That's a good slogan in life in general. Take your meat and run. Don't you take that in the wrong way. All right, so I'm going to take my meat and run. So I found a steak. I do take 1 ship damage, and so I'm going to mark it on here. Now, if an area on the ship is completely damaged, I can't use it anymore. And if the ship is completely damaged, it's sunk, that's a bad thing. So I can kind of spread my damage out a little bit. So I think I'll damage the galley 1 point. So that's action 1. I got food. That's the ship action. Now I have these 2 tokens. I could use these tokens to do these abilities. So many of these abilities, well, like this person, I could spend 2 tokens to get another meat, or I could spend 2 tokens to what is that? Remove a weakened, I think? Oh, no, get an extra point of combat to help me in combat. So Dusk was mentioning that my Board Games with Scott show helped him find lifeboats and how great that is. And I agree. I really like that game. I like the purity of that game. It's like Survivor, the TV show, boiled down into a board game. So I really enjoy it. 2, I pick an event. So these are the cards that hate me. So let's see how it hates me today. Ghostly Watchers. Ooh. Eerie watchers float above the ship, examining you quietly. This is you guys. So they're talking about you in the chat there. You are floating above the ship, watching me quietly. And I can either banish the watchers, a savvy 6. So that means I have to choose crew and fatigue them to get a base. And then I flip a card. And if that total is 6 or greater, I will succeed. If I succeed, I get nothing. So thanks for playing. If I fail, I lose a health and I gain a madness. Madness, I actually haven't had a madness before. I don't know what that does. Challenge -1 health. So anytime someone who has madness, anytime I have them do a challenge, they lose a health. Or I can just ignore the watchers and I gain a frightened. If I'm frightened, I can't attack. So I could choose to not do the challenge and ignore them, but then one of my crew members will not be able to attack until I remove their frightened. So I have a way to get rid of frightened here with this person with 2 command tokens. So it's not awful. I hate the idea of fatiguing my people more. I also don't remember which of the icons is Savvy. So Savvy is the boat anchor. So if I look, I'm boat anchor. So my captain would be able to have a base of 2 if I go for it. A captain would have a base of 2 but I would completely fatigue her at that point. She wouldn't be good in combat. I'm not so sure I like that. I have 1 boat anchor off this person. They're also already tired. So the other option is I just give up on someone fighting and then just pile on more badness. And I think that's what I'm going to do. So I think we're going to go for this person here. So I'm going to just make Laurent frightened of the ghosts. So we're going to ignore the ghosts because I don't want to fatigue my people. And I kind of have this guy I'm picking on anyway, so he's not getting in combat. He's already weakened. He's already got low morale, so he's going to be scared as well. So there you go. So that's the effect of the event card. So we put that away. Now we move on to my 2 actions. Now, on my little ship, right now, I've got a little plastic ship. I am right here in this space. Now, my options are, my goal I'm trying to do is to head west. I've got 2 things that are going to help me with going west. I'm searching for a cook who fell overboard. She's headed a ship heading west. So that tells me go west. And I know I want to head towards Lucre City, which is also in the west. So we're traveling to the west. So when I travel, I'm traveling to the west. I'm going to travel to board 13. So therefore, I'm going to flip the board to number 13. And then I find where number 2 is on the board, and that shows me I've come into this ocean. Now to travel, that's one of the actions. It's called travel. The travel action, I could travel further if I make a craft check. My goal is to get to a port. I would like to get to a port because I have enough money to, at a port, remove my fatigue. And so that's what that's my goal here. Now I can see that if I go 1 more space, so if I go 1 space, I'll be in the open ocean. If I can go 2 spaces, I would be where I could trigger a port this turn, which I could do for my second action. So if I look at the board, when I do a craft check, if I get a 0 to 3 on my craft check, I'll move 1 space. If I get a 4 to 6, I'll move 2 spaces, and it goes up from there. I'd like to move 2 spaces. So therefore, I'm going to do a craft check. Now, I will need to fatigue someone, and there's a couple people that are not yet fatigued at all, so I'm going to go and do that. So I'm going to fatigue Raphael. He's going to give me 1 craft. I'm not going to use Audrey. She would give me 3. I mean, I'm going to save her for something where I need a lot more, because really all I want to do is get a number. Now, you know what? I lied. I am going to fatigue Audrey because I really want this to succeed because I don't want to waste 2 turns moving. So I'm going to fatigue her. She gives me 3 craft. And therefore, now I have a base of 3. Now I flip a card, and I got a 1. I'm glad I did that. So that's a total of 4. So I got 4 craft that lets me move the ship 2 spaces. So that's going to take me down into this quadrant of the board down here. Now, so my boat will sit there. Now, for other actions, the other things you can do on your turn is you can move, which I just moved. You can visit a market, which if you have money, you can buy extra cards, which are going to be these cards here. Or you can stop in at a port. The other thing you can do is adventure, which means go to one of the numbers that you see. We'll get to that, but right now I have to help my people out. So my second action is a port action. So port actions is you use this card, which shows you what you can do at a port. So the first thing is you can do is you can spend $4 to go to the inn and remove 1 fatigue from every crew member. Aha, that's what I've been working toward. I also can heal 2 hearts from every crew member. I'm not that hurt. But the second thing I could do is I could repair my ship. I could repair one cube of my ship for every $1 or wood that I spend. And so, yeah, Duskasser, this is fantasy place. Yes, this is it is fantasy, although there's guns. So it's guns and swords and fantasy. But it is, you're trying to find these totems, of which I have found 1. So you're having these adventures, but it is sort of that fantasy feel. I could visit a healer, so I can spend 1 gold per crew member to restore all their health. I'm not heavily hurt. Or I could spend experience and expend experience to buy level cards. Experience is one of the things you get by succeeding at challenges. Right now I have 3 experience points. The game comes with these level up cards, which would let me get more abilities for my people. They basically start at 4. I think there's 1 in there for 3. It's not very good, so I'm saving my experience till I get a little bit more. So I'm going to do on the port. I'm going to spend $4. And those $4 is going to let me remove 1 fatigue from every crew member. So this is really huge for me. This is something I really needed to do. And 2 health. So we'll do that and we'll heal Raphael. So that's been a goal of mine for a little while, is gather the $4 and then get to a port. And now everyone is not fatigued. So we've rested, which is great. We'll be able to set out and have our adventure. So that was good. I could repair my ship. I might as well. I have another $1 and I have some boards. So I'm going to go ahead and spend my other $1 and spend my boards. And that lets me repair 2 of my damage on the ship. So now my ship is almost full health, which is good. I have no more dollars, and I don't have enough experience to buy a level card. So that's a round. We just finished a round. So you do that 54 times. For a full game, you do what we just did 54 times. You go through this deck 3 times. This deck has 18 cards. Okay, so now we're going to go out to our next turn. So our next turn is you always take a ship action first. Now I cannot gather more resources. I always have to move. I am a little worried about all this stuff, and so what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the quarters. Now the quarters, first thing I get to do is I get to add a card to my hand. So this card, I can spend 2 command to attach this to someone. It's going to give them an extra ability, and it's going to also give them, so in this case it is bandage. I can restore 1 health to this crew member when I apply it. So I don't want to spend this card right now. I want to wait until I need to actually use that. That's fine. I get 3 more of these command cubes, which are good. And I get to remove 2 command cubes from the board. Now, there's some things I could do. I could spend the 2 command cubes right now on Cannon, which would let him remove the Frightened from Laurent. And then I could remove the 2 from him, so he is still able to have command cubes. Or I could remove 2 command cubes from these things over here, which is, I think, what I'm going to do. So I think I'm going to go ahead and spend the 2 command cubes on Cannon to remove Frightened, because I may want to tap that guy in a fight. So I'm going to do that first. Second, then I get to remove 2 command cubes, and I'm going to remove the one that lets me redraw if I need to, and I'm going to remove the one that lets me do this Scout's gear. Now, there's one person that would let me draw 2 more cards, but I don't have a lot of command cubes, so I'm not going to bother with that. Okay, so that's my ship action. So I go, why did I move the red? I moved the guy to the quarters. I can't stay on there. I always have to move every turn. So that's a ship action. Now is the Game Hates You card, the event card. A coral nest. That sounds lovely. Let's visit a coral nest. What could possibly go wrong? A delicate nest of glittering serpent eggs rests below the waves. Well, of course. Why don't I just not mess with it? But I can't. I have to do it. And I have a problem with that. I understand the game is balanced around you having your resources drained down by these cards and then you having to rebuild them. But it's like if I was sailing and I look down and there's this nest of eggs, I would be like, let's just keep going, shall we? But I can't. I have to steal the eggs. That is a forced choice. So I'm going to try to steal the eggs. I have a cunning. I need a cunning of 6 to succeed. If I fail, I take 2 ship damage, but if I succeed, I get 2 meat. So it's actually not bad. More meat would be good, because meat allows me to make, if I could get some grain, I could then cook some biscuits and gravy, and who doesn't love biscuits and gravy? Okay, so cunning 6. Cunning is the wolf. Now Marco has a base of 3 cunning, so that's great. We're going to go ahead and fatigue Marco, so we get 3 on that. So now we could go in and draw. We would need a 3, 4, 5, or 6 to succeed, a 1 or a 2 to fail. The deck is half as many 1s as there are 2s, 3s, and 4s, so the chances are relatively good I will succeed with a base of 3. Let's see if the game hates me. The game hates me. There you go. You fail. Thank you for spending your resources, and have your ship damaged while you're at it. This is where my morale sinks. This is where I'm like, you know, I had a pretty good chance going in, and now I just get screwed, and the guy's fatigued as well. So, all right, so I don't get the meat. Now, I could spend 1 of my command tokens to get a redraw. That's what this guy's ability, if the meat is that important to me. I think I'm just not going to worry about it, though, because I think there'll be other things down the road I would want that redraw available for. So there you go. I fail. I take 2 ship damage, and I get no meat. So all that work I did on repairing the ship now is back to wasted. So there you go. Because I flipped a bad card against the odds, thanks for playing. We move on. So now I have a couple options. I could continue to look for this ship. So if I look at the map, I'm in this square here. So my choices are, I could go visit the City of Ashes. I've not been there yet. I could go to the abandoned island and see what's going on there. And then, or I could continue west to where there may be a ship that's in these shoals. I don't know that. So I think I'm going to visit the city. So we'll have a city adventure. I don't know what I'm going to see. I don't have any money, but you know what? Let's just see the city. So we're going to go to, you'll have our first adventure from the book. Okay. Here we go. So someone asked how big the dice deck is. It's the whole deck of all the ability cards. So it's a big deck. It's not shuffled before a draw. But every card also, it has a number on it that functions as both the dice and the abilities. So it's one big deck that you're working through. So in theory, over time, I should get as many good draws as I get bad draws. However, not all cards are used as draws. Some cards you're taking into your hand. So like the cards you take into your hand are not part of that number pool anymore. They were never used for a die number. They were only used into your hand. So that theory actually doesn't work out. So 40. So it says if keyword burn, go to one certain page. If keyword thug, go to one certain page. So what that tells me now, before I go any further, as I mentioned earlier about taking notes, I'm going to write down, at number 40, I'm going to write down burn and thug, meaning as the game goes on, if I find those keywords, I should return here. So I'm going to write down burn and thug. Okay, so that's the sort of notes you want to take. Now, City of Ashes. A city of tents, a circle of tents, sits amid endless fields of stony ruins. The encampment flies a blue banner depicting a moon rising over the mountains, the colors of the Pan nomads. You are welcome here, wanderers. This place was once the capital of the Pan Empire. We come here to remember the power we once held, says a man with a long beard. Oh. We offended Shorm, and she brought a cruel destruction upon us, covering the city in lava and ash. This was before the gods slept, of course. Now we are humble nomads, grateful to be safe and at peace. You enter a camp near a ruined city. I can visit the tent of the elders. I can follow Vim into the destroyed city. Requires keyword guide. So do I have keyword guide? I do not. But now I'm going to make a note of that if I find keyword guide, I want to come back to this city. I could visit the herbalist, pay 3 coins to restore 6 health, and remove all status tokens, including low morale on all crew members. So that makes me sad, because now I know that when I get all these markers, I need 3 coins, and I can remove them all by coming here and talking to the herbalist. Again, I'm going to make a note of that. So 40, 3 coins, remove tokens. It's too bad. I would like to have that money right now because I have quite a few tokens, but that tells me I have a way to get rid of all my tokens. That's nice to know. I could follow Shorm's version into the ruins. Requires keyword earthquake. I do not have keyword earthquake, but it tells me if I get keyword earthquake, I should come here. Okay. So those are, or return to the ship. So really the only options that I have available to me is visit the tent of the elders, because I don't have anything else. I don't have 3 coins. So, elders. I can see you long for your homes, says the woman, wrinkled and pale in her white robes. I can help you, but first I ask you to deliver this letter. Hello, complete strangers. Please do a task for me. Why, of course, because you trust us completely, because we are clearly the heroes. So it tells me to gain Quest 130. Now, this box has within it adventure cards and quest cards. So these cards are cards that you get during play, and so they'll tell you to refer to the box and pull out certain cards. So now I need Quest 130 out of the box. Quest 130. Letter. Pan letter. A Pan elder woman said she would help us if we delivered a letter for her. She wants us to take it to a village just outside of Glance in the northern mountains. Okay, so glance in the northern mountains. Now, I'm going to make a note, just like earlier when I didn't make the note of where the guy was who said, I'll show you where there's a chest to the south. I want to make sure I know where to come back to here. So I'm going to write Pan on my little map over City of Ashes. So now I've got all these little notes here in my handwriting that I'm never going to be able to read again for the future. So there you go. So I need to go, she wants me to go to Glance. So I don't know where Glance is. I'll look at the map. Okay, so I can see that Glance is up here on the map, and Luca's here. So I'm going to go there, and then I'm going to go there. So now I have some longer-term goals to work on. So I'm delivering a letter for the old woman. Okay. And then she says, go to 40. 40 takes me back to the City of Ashes. I have those same choices again. I don't have Guide. I don't have 3 coins. I don't have Earthquake. So I have to choose choice E, which is return to the ship. So that was my city action, number 40. So now I can choose if I want to start sailing or if I want to explore this little place down here, knowing nothing about it whatsoever. What could possibly go wrong? Let's explore, shall we? Here we go, adventure time. See, this is where bad things happen. This is where if I were playing a video game, I would pick save so that I could quit and reload my progress when I realized that that particular place was no good. So we're going to stop at a random island because why not, huh? All right. Sailing on the swift wind, a Zokmir vessel, I don't know what that means, bears down just missing the bow of the Manticore. That's my ship. Whoosh. In swings a captain from a mizzen line, landing on your deck with a practiced finesse. Doot, doot, doot. I mean you no harm, he proclaims and gestures for you to lower the weapons pointed at his throat. I'm on my way south to drop off some lucran iron, and I heard a rumor which a crew like yours might find profitable. I'd be happy to part for it for a simple sum. I can either pay for the rumor with 1 coin or 1 food, or decline and search the area, in which case I get 1 material or 1 meat. Well, I'm going to go ahead. I have 1 meat, so let's pay for it. Why not? I have a steak. Would you like a steak? Thank you for the steak. And here's what he tells me. I spoke recently with some miners I carry to Lucra City, well, that's where I'm going, who said they found an entrance to the Cinder Realm. Deadly dangerous place and rich with reward. I have no need for such risk, but desperate souls like you, far from home, could find the venture worthwhile. The miners were determined never to go back, says the captain. I marked it on all my charts. Gain 1 experience. Yay! That gives me 4 experience. That's actually good because 4 is the base level for a lot of these experience cards. So I am going to use that the next time I go to a port. And go to gain quest 119. So I get another quest. 119. Okay, quest 119. All right. Cinder Realms. A Zulkmir captain told us about an entrance to the Cinder Realms. It's on the island to the west with 2 volcanoes at the foot of the southern volcano. What could possibly go wrong? Okay, so there we go. I should take a note of that and see where that's. Oh, so I've already have 1 volcano. Oh, there. See, that's the next island over. I can see there's 2 volcanoes. And they're telling me to go to the foot of the southern volcano. So the problem is I don't know whether, as you can see from the map, there's 2 areas. I don't know if it's on this side or on this side. So I am not sure, but I'm pretty close to being able to explore that. So that's good. And that says return to the ship. So that ends the round. So that is where we shall stop today's video. So I have played through 3 turns of the game. 3 turns, 2 turns, 3 turns, something like that. A few turns of the game. And this is the way I'm taking in the game. I'll play a few rounds. This was actually not as painful. This was a kind of recovery time. So other times, I mean, I've had some really bad runs where I ended up failing quests, burning down. Well, I'm not going to talk about what I've done. We'll just say I'm not really welcome in that first part of the map anymore because I made some bad choices. No, I didn't make bad choices. I drew bad numbers. And the game made me make bad choices. That was another problem I had. There were things that I would never do, but the game says, hey, you got to do this thing because you failed at your role. And so, yeah, I kind of have to move on from where I am because I kind of wrecked the previous part of the map with some of my choices. So anyway, that is a little bit of Sleeping Gods. I wanted to do a video before. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep going. The designer has recognized that it's a hard game. So much so that they've actually produced an official easy variant where you start with some experience and there's some other things to do to help you out. Because he's recognized a lot of people tried to get into the game and they got frustrated and gave up. So I don't know. We will see where I go from here, but that will end today's stream. Hopefully this gives you some idea of how this game works. I didn't go through combat. Actually, I should briefly talk about combat because it's kind of cool. The way combat works is you will have one or more of these cards out in front of you. These are the things you're fighting. When you fight, you choose, you get 4 characters get to fight in a round. You choose someone to fight. You are trying to beat the person's armor. So in this case, I'd have to beat a 5 to successfully do damage. I draw and add that to my ability, any ability I have for combat, a base. If I beat that number, I do damage. Damage are markers that I put on these little spaces. And the cool thing about it, so like if I do 3 damage, I pick a point to hit, and then I continue to put those blocks across. So if I did say, I was fighting this guy and I did 3 damage, well then what I could do is I could say, all right, well I'm going to hit his arm, because if I block his arm with damage, he will not hit me as badly back. And then the swipe will continue to his body. I can't move diagonally, so then I'll have to go here. So that would be my 3 damage. When I cover up all the hearts, I win the fight. But then after all my people go, then if he's still alive, he does damage back to me based on this base number and then any of these that are exposed. There's also little symbols that allow you to bring in someone else. So if I cover up this, like if Kasumi was doing the attack and she covered up a little synergy symbol, she would get to take her marker and put it on someone else who would then get to use, get a little boost in their attack. So combat's kind of cool, but again, it comes down to, did you flip right? Because if you don't flip the right number, then you get beat and there's no middle ground. It's like you either hit or you do nothing. And that is at the heart, the thing that I find most disheartening about the game is that failures give you nothing. And that would be the change. If I were making this game, that would be the change I would make, is I would make it to where failures give you something so you don't come away just feeling dejected like you've wasted everything. So that's it for Sleeping Gods. We will see how our adventures continue. I don't want to spoil more things for you, but I now know I'm going to head to this volcano because what could possibly go wrong? All right, take care, everyone, and I'll see you on another episode of Board